Good evening, viewers of Voice of Canada. We are coming with a brand new episode with our Honorable MPP Stephen Crawford from Halton, Oakville.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me, and it's great to be with you both today.
Your today's co-host is Asphandiar Wadiwalla, and the co-host is our charming Ekaterina K. So we
welcome you here.
Thank you.
So we welcome you to our show, which is basically we usually call the politicians, and we are completing the series of our MPPs because in about 5 months' time we are going to face elections in Ontario. So we are making preparations for them.
Yeah.
So our MPPs return with flying colors.
Yeah, exactly. Time flies. It's hard to believe, but June 2nd is actually the election date here in the province of Ontario.
So each day the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
And we are working hard. We all want to see you all again at Queen's Park.
Thank you.
You all have done a wonderful job, even during the pandemic, prior to that. And our Premier, Honorable Doug Ford, is working very hard and is really stressing, overwhelmed by all issues.
Yeah.
And we truly appreciate the efforts of our provincial government that we are among the top countries of the world who have vaccinated the massive population.
Yes.
So for our viewers, Stephen, would you introduce yourself for the Voice of Canada viewers, yourself?
Yeah, for sure.
Because,
absolutely. Well, first, again, it's an honor to be here today. I always enjoy your show when I do get the opportunity to watch it. I know you have some great guests on here.
Thank you.
For me to be included in that, it's quite an honor. Having said that, my background is, I come from the business world. And, I actually was born in Mississauga.
Wow.
So I'm a true Mississauga native, raised in this great community. And I'll tell you, it's changed a lot over the years since I was born here, but great community. And then I went into university in Western Ontario, in London, Ontario.
London, okay.
And then University of Toronto. And to make a long story short, I went into the financial sector. Wow. And I helped build 2 investment companies, which were subsequently sold. And then at that point, I had moved to Oakville, and I recognized that our province was in very bad shape. And I decided my way of giving back to this great country, which has been so great to me, was to run for public office. And that's sort of the very, 30-second version of my background. And I really enjoy public service, serving our community in Oakville and throughout Ontario. And it's an honor for me to represent
You are doing a great job, let me tell you. We do observe you, follow you, and see your activities. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I had this question while you was talking about your path to start your political career. As you're very new to this field, and it's just your first term as an MPP.
He's completing.
Yes, but still very fresh. What were your expectations when you just started serving your riding, and what actually you faced? Was there any difference? And share about.
Well, certainly there is. And to give you sort of a very quick background, I am new to politics and government, but I should give you a little bit of my biography, because I actually got involved in politics when I was very young. In fact, I was 11 or 12 years old. And I used to deliver the Toronto Star back when kids delivered the newspapers, if you remember that, right?
From grassroots level, you
absolutely.
started.
And I used to read the paper and get very interested in global affairs and public affairs. And anyway, that brought my interest in politics. And I actually helped out in campaigns as a young boy. And my parents weren't really involved in politics either. It wasn't like they were putting me into it. They're not very political. I mean, they have views like everybody.
But they're Canadians.
They're Canadians, And so I had an interest. And it was more on the back burner as I went into the business world and focused on family, and then ran in
for the public office.
Right, in 2017 for the nomination in Oakville. And I ran against 2 other great candidates, won the nomination. And then, of course, the election was in June 2018. So in terms of what my expectations were and how things perhaps differed, I think, it takes a year to acclimatize yourself.
Definitely.
Sure. Just to understand at least a year. So, I learned a lot in the first year and a half, and then COVID hit. And I think that's the biggest issue and challenge we faced is, you don't go into public service thinking you're going to have a global pandemic.
Nobody did.
Nobody did anywhere in the world.
Major testing of your abilities.
Absolutely. And nobody's got a playbook for this. And quite frankly, no government in the entire world has run everything
and
perfectly.
was ready. But still, we did our
But you know
best.
what? Ontario as a whole has come out, I think, stronger than most
Very strong,
jurisdictions
being the largest
in
province.
Canada and North America. Absolutely. So let's put it into context
And
there.
they
But
worked
I think that was the biggest challenge.
shoulder to shoulder with the federal government. That was also remarkable. Because, see, we are first Canadians, and then we choose the door of red or blue.
Exactly.
I'm a nationalist, you know me well.
Yeah.
I'm a Canadian first, and then a conservative.
Yep, I am the same as you.
Thank you.
I am the same as you.
Okay, Stephen, our viewers would also like to know that during this first term, what development projects you took in Halton, Oakville, in your riding or in your region?
Yeah, thank you. So Oakville is a great community of over 200,000 people, and it's growing rapidly. There's no question about it. We're
it's a rich community.
It's well off, but as much as it is well off, you are right. There also is a fairly high level of poverty, more poverty than any other city in Halton, in Oakville. So that's something we deal with. Yeah, there is a segment of that. So we have to remember that. And the pandemic, they've been affected as well. But having said that, you are correct. It is fairly educated. It has a higher income than most ridings, absolutely. And that is Oakville. It's about 200,000 people, right beside Mississauga, in between.
We're on the borderline. With us.
Absolutely, right on the border. But in terms of investments in the community, I think there's been quite a few our government has focused on. I would say number one that I would bring out is, I'm sure everybody that watches the show has driven on the QEW and driven by the Ford Assembly complex. Well, I can tell you that Ford of Canada was looking at leaving Canada.
Yeah.
They were leaving Canada. They were going to be out. Their assembly line of the current production vehicle they're making there, the Ford Edge, is due to run in a couple of years out. And because Ontario, Canada in general, Ontario's had high taxes, high energy costs, high costs of labor.
Mismanagement by the previous government.
Which brought about those high energy costs. And some of the policies they brought in, this is what they advised us on. We've made some changes. We've made some investment in Ford of Canada. They are staying in Canada for decades to come, and they're going to be building electric vehicles right here in Oakville. This is going to be a global leader in the production of electric vehicles.
Today I heard the Premier's statement about the Chevrolet F-150.
Yeah.
He's pushing very hard to make maximum number of electric trucks.
Absolutely. We need to maintain our presence in the automobile manufacturing sector. And we certainly have some issues with the states right now. We've got to deal with that at both federal and provincial level with some electrical vehicle tax credits and whatnot. But at the end of the day, our economies are integrated. And Oakville is a key part of that. And by that investment by the provincial government and the incentives we put through and some of the changes with respect to energy, which have lowered the cost of manufacturers' energy bills. Could you imagine the energy bill of Ford of Canada here at the assembly plant? We're talking very big numbers.
Massive.
So the fact that we've been able to reduce that was certainly an incentive for them to stay in Oakville and keep thousands of great paying jobs here. So I think that's certainly one of the big investments. We've done some infrastructure investments as well with the new bridge. And for people that know Oakville, the Wycroft Bridge will be starting building that in 2022. Long-term care beds, which we may talk about later on in the show.
We are going to talk about the hospital and all, because generally when our MPPs are here, we talk as a whole Ontario. Yeah. Serving Ontario, not your particular riding.
I serve the people of Oakville, but I also serve the people of Ontario.
Yeah, I know. Your doors are always open. Whoever walks in, you are there to help them. And your office is also very kind and is functioning very well.
Yeah.
Credit goes to you.
Yeah.
And in continuation of my current question, would you be able to inform our viewers also, were you able to bring any private member bill?
Yeah.
In this first term?
Yes. I actually have put through 2 private members' bills.
Oh, wow.
Through this legislature so far. The first one was called Bill 55, which was Safeguarding Our Information Act. And it was basically a bill that focused on protecting consumer privacy. There was a point where the federal government was going to allow banks to give the data to the federal government without customers' permission. So if you have an account at Royal Bank or TD or Scotiabank or what have you, the banks would give the information to the federal government without your authorization. And I had a problem with that.
That's a violation of Charter of Rights.
Exactly. And I can tell you the good news on this. The bill didn't pass. We never got through, and then Parliament's been prorogued. However, it had its effect because the federal government actually backed down on doing what they said they were going to do. So I think this bill actually put the federal government in a position where they saw the resistance.
They were alerted, rather.
Yes.
They got a wake-up call.
Absolutely. And there was overwhelming support, cross-partisan support for my bill in the legislature and the population at large. So I think it didn't even need to become law. What it did is it prevented the federal government, I think, from intruding on people's private financial information without their consent. Now, if they want to give their consent, that's a different matter.
Fine, yeah.
But we didn't want them to do that without their consent.
But why it failed, your bill, was because we are in a majority.
It just, there's only so much time for debate, and it just didn't get through.
Yeah, but in private member bill, any MPP can vote for yes or no.
Yeah.
The party doesn't count on.
Hopefully, we can. We'll look at putting that through in the future again. But
Another modified bill.
A modified bill, but it served its purpose.
Yes, it still brought the attention where it needed to be brought, and it got the right result for you, right?
Absolutely.
What was your second bill?
Yeah, the second bill was as well. It was also on protecting consumers, and it was related to porch pirates. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with porch pirates, but
will you explain our viewers about the porch pirates?
So porch pirates is a term for people that steal packages that are being delivered to your house. Now,
we had lots of
usually
cases.
It's houses, but it could be condos too, or
they were
apartments.
picked up.
Condos are more affected.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. This is a multi-billion-dollar problem in North America, especially now with more and more delivery services, whether it's Amazon, FedEx, whatever. People are ordering more packages, even before the pandemic. But after, this is costing billions of dollars, which is affecting consumers. It's affecting insurance companies. It's affecting companies. And my bill was the first bill of its kind in Canada to put a provincial offense to people that are doing that. That would be like a ticketed offense. It would try to discourage these package pirates, or porch pirates as they're called. And so we'll see where that goes in the future. But I can tell you in the United States, there's been 7 or 8 states that have put through legislation.
So your bill is under reading currently?
Yes.
Still under reading?
Yeah. So we'll see where it goes.
So push, if you can push before the federal, the provincial elections, next elections.
Sure.
And we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Once and for all, we would also like to congratulate you for being acclaimed again for the second term to office.
Yeah. So thank you very much. And I am running again for the Progressive Conservative Party in the election on June 2nd. And Premier Ford has acclaimed all the existing candidates. So I'm happy to raise the colors and support our team in the next election.
Definitely.
Do you have any plans already for the times when you will be re-elected, if you will? So do you have anything in mind? What will you do when you're re-elected?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think, our government has been so focused on this first term with the pandemic, right? And that's unfortunately put some of our platform on hold. Some of the things we wanted to do, we weren't able to perhaps do in term 1. Now, some things, we've done a lot of great things, and we've touched on a few, and we'll talk about more.
Yes,
but
even if you want to do a lot of things, you just don't have capacity to.
Hassles and handicaps.
Exactly. So having said that, I think I think Premier Ford and the team are putting together a platform. So what we'll be able to present, in terms of re-election campaign. But I certainly know some of the key issues will be healthcare, ending hallway healthcare. We know that that's a disaster in this province, and it's been decades in the making. And it's
healthcare is the number one priority, but he has come out very well with the announcement of new hospital.
Absolutely,
largest in North America.
Yes, that's incredible. And Premier Ford was in Mississauga, I believe it was not too long ago, with some of the Mississauga MPPs, and this investment in Mississauga Hospital, which again I have an attachment to. I was born there in Mississauga Hospital, which is now Trillium Health Partners. I was born there, and that is going to be, as you said, one of the largest hospitals.
And all
in North
MPPs
America.
Did their level best when the announcement was made.
I know that the Mississauga MPPs were lobbying and advocating very hard to the Minister of Health, to Premier Ford, to get this hospital.
It was a need of
the hour,
of an hour. The new hospital, because our demographics have increased considerably, and you see the conditions at our current hospital facilities, we have to wait practically the whole night in emergency.
Yeah.
So we go to smaller cities like Milton and even Oakville. We utilize because we don't want to go and have a long waits.
Yeah.
This was the reason. Then availability of beds. Then there is a bigger crisis in the long-term care homes, and all that stuff is going on. You're well aware what Mississauga residents were facing.
Yes. Yeah. So I think this investment in Mississauga is going to be absolutely incredible for the city, for the people. This is going to be an massive hospital. Just massive.
And we are proud of it because recently the Vaughan brought up a new hospital. ahead of us, but still, we are not far behind.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm excited, and I look forward to seeing it completed.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Can you name the main maybe 3 issues that your writing had in Oakville when you started there?
I think the 3 main issues would be, would you mean on a provincial level or locally, or
your
both?
writing?
Both. The writing.
Whatever you mind, you feel like most important for you.
In terms of in the Oakville riding specifically, I think the number 1 issue was preserving the Glen Abbey Golf Course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was quite in.
Let me explain a little bit about that for the viewers that may not know it. The Glen Abbey Golf Course is one of the most prestigious golf courses in Canada. It's had 30 Canadian Opens. That's more than any other golf course in Canada.
Had.
Okay, so number 1. Number 2, it hosts the Canadian Golf Hall of Fame, which is incredible.
Incredible.
And number 3, it's an incredible green space in a great
It's a
valley.
celebrity golf course.
Absolutely. And the citizens of Oakville overwhelmingly, look, I'm not going to say everyone, but probably 95% of the people there did not want to see this built up. There was proposals to bulldoze it, build condos there. It didn't make sense. There wasn't the proper infrastructure. And the green space there is also incredible. It's right in the 16-mile creek. There's a lot of endangered species.
It's a very beautiful natural
area.
location, I would say.
And, you know, the previous government did nothing to preserve Glen Abbey. With all due respect to the previous member.
But at least we are happy.
But, you know, the course was not preserved. The provincial government did nothing to save the Glen Abbey Golf Course. Well, I can tell you that Premier Ford, Steve Clark, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and myself, through my advocacy, were able to preserve Glen Abbey for future generations. So we are ecstatic. That is definitely the number 1 issue, without a doubt, in Oakville, that I am saying mission complete. You know, the mayor of Oakville is very happy. The community's happy. We had 5,000 emails.
We have preserved, which is like a heritage for us.
And this isn't even a partisan issue. It didn't matter what your political beliefs were. The overwhelming majority of people in Oakville wanted to preserve Glen Abbey. So that would definitely be the number 1 issue. Number 2 is probably on the long-term care. There is a waiting list of probably 1,000 people in Oakville to get on long-term care. There has been 0 beds built in the last 15 years in Oakville. Wow. I repeat, 0. Now, our government, Minister Rod Phillips, came into Oakville about 2 months ago. And with my Oakville North Burlington colleague, we made an announcement that we're building 640 beds in Oakville. The mayor of Oakville is ecstatic. The community is ecstatic. When we get that built up, you know, that's really going to shrink that waiting list. We need to do this. But most importantly, it's going to be a new modern facility, private rooms, air conditioning, you know, things that people require, especially
basic
when you're
requirements of that.
Right. So, and our government, by the way, has mandated air conditioning. We're fixing that problem.
Even trying to fix up in the schools, also trying to get some budget for the school and our children also.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Stephen. We will be taking a short break and we'll be returning soon. Welcome to our Voice of Canada's weekly talk show with your host Asphandiar Wadiwalla, our co-host Ekaterina K, and our honored guest MPP Stephen Crawford from Oakville, Halton region. We welcome you in our show, and we are back after the short break. Would you like to inform our viewers about the recent COVID pandemic, which has hit us since March 2020?
Yeah, well, that's obviously a major issue, which we could talk a very long time about. It's been an unfortunate issue, but I guess I can certainly give an update in terms of, you know, what's happening at this point in time. And you are correct when you both mentioned that Ontario has come out of this stronger than most. That's a fact.
Definitely.
That's a fact. We've had less deaths, less injuries, and you look at other countries around the world, in some states, and, you know, the U.S., a lot of states, 2 to 3 times the death rate. So we have done our job protecting as a whole. Now, with that, unfortunately, with the Omicron virus right now, it's been particularly virulent, spreading very easy. Very violently, spreads like wildfire. And it's less deadly, but the point is, if you have 6 or 7 times the number of people that get it, and even 20% of the number of people from the previous variant that get sick, it still could clog up the hospitals. And it's happening. I know the Oakville hospitals, I can tell you as a fact, the number of people in there with COVID as a result of COVID has doubled in the past 5 or 6 days. Now, that's just one little example. I do know that other hospitals in the province have shut down their emergency departments
and their whole operations and all other things
for 7,
also.
8 hours because they don't have enough staff. Because if you have a lot of doctors and nurses that have to isolate or may be sick, they can't go to work. So the problem has compounded to the point where the government, as you know, Premier Ford just a few days ago made the announcement about going to a modified stage 2.
Stage 2.
Listen, nobody wants to do this. Let me make that perfectly clear. I know
we were compelled. You know,
we were compelled. And being in government means having to make tough decisions. Sometimes decisions you don't want to do. I don't want to do this. I've got kids. I don't want them in virtual learning.
For the safety of our
but we have to look at the
Ontarians.
Safety overall. And the job of a government is to weigh everything, cost benefit. So we know that every decision we make has costs and benefits. And our government felt, and I agree with them, that what we needed to do had more benefits than costs. We will save lives. Yes, there are some costs, financial and otherwise, but it's the right decision, and hopefully it won't be too long.
We'll be coming back.
We will come back stronger than ever. You know, if we go back to the Spanish flu in 1918, 1919, which none of us were around for, that was a long time ago, but I can tell you that led the way to this period of strongest economic growth in the history of the world in the Roaring '20s.
Wow.
And I really believe we've learned a lot from this pandemic. Let's take some of the good out of the bad. We have learned a lot. Some things have changed, some things for the better, right? Let's take the good from this.
It definitely opened a lot of doors for better transitions.
Better transitions and better methods.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And about tough decisions, I absolutely agree. There is a saying, sometimes you need to choose a smallest out of two evils.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Sometimes you have no choice.
These are tough decisions.
How about the vaccination rates in Oakville?
Yeah, the vaccination rates in Oakville are similar to the province. So the good news is they're quite high. You know, they're almost at 90%.
90%, yeah.
So that's a very good rate. And again, that's among the highest jurisdictions in the world. So some people say, well, you know, there's people that are sick that are in hospital that are vaccinated. Yes, there are, you know, but let me just share an equivalent story. The number of people that are killed in a car accident that are wearing a seatbelt is about the same as the people that aren't wearing a seatbelt. Now, you could say, if you're not wearing a seatbelt, well, then why do you need to wear a seatbelt? It's the same number, but 10 times the number of people wear a seatbelt. Most people wear seatbelts than don't. So the fact is seatbelts save lives and protect.
Safety and protection.
It's the same with the vaccine. It doesn't mean you can't get sick, but what it means is your odds of getting sick are less, and when you do get sick, it tends to be less serious. So it is important to get the vaccine. It doesn't mean it's 100%. But it is important.
And we are even expediting the booster shot in a greater extent, and the work is going very smoothly.
Yeah, the booster shots are coming along. I'm getting mine next week, personally.
Wow.
So looking forward to getting that. But the government's done a good job, as have all the public health units here in Peel and Halton. Have done a great job executing on that.
It's good that all the regions are working shoulder to shoulder in this national calamity, I would say.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more questions about your writing. Just tell us a little bit about demographics.
Sure.
And do you think the demographics affect the issues that you face in the writing?
Yeah. Oakville is, I can tell you, it's the largest town in Canada. Okay, so
still call it a town?
It's still called a town, and we want to keep it that way. Now, I've traveled the province, and I've been to Dryden, Ontario, which is 7,000 people, and they call themselves a city. Oakville's 200,000.
Town of Oakville.
But it's a town. And people like it that way because it has a small town feeling.
It sounds cozy.
It is. It's cozy, right?
Its downtown is also historical.
Downtown Oakville is beautiful. There's a lot of old historical houses there. The lakeshore, great restaurants. There's great museums there. It's an incredible place. And it was really the center as well for the Underground Railroad back in the 1850s when fugitive slaves were coming up from the United States. And they'd come in like cargo grain ships and stuff from Ohio and whatnot. They come up and, well, actually there is the Oakville Museum was originally like a post office and a government office that when people transported across the border then, and that was built 150 years ago. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of the buildings aren't, but there still are a few there. There's a number of houses, and they all have historical plaques on a lot of the houses there. because they're so old, and they said who owned it and what they did.
So many heritage houses are there.
Right, exactly. A lot of heritage houses. I encourage everybody to come visit us. But so the demographics are, it's a very well-educated community. We tend to have a higher than average education. We tend to be higher than average income, and that doesn't mean everybody is by any stretch of the imagination, but generally it is considered a more...
Oakville and Markham are the rich cities of Ontario.
Right.
Am I right?
Yes, yeah. So we have a very educated community. It's a good part of it, particularly south of the QEW, is older. Now you get a lot of new homes being built in some of these big old properties, but it tends to be older. And then the north part of the city, particularly north of Dundas, is getting newer and built up and expanding around the GO station as well. There's big plans there. So the community is going to grow. Demographically, it's a great mixture of people from all over.
But still, there are majority Caucasians in Oakville. Am I right?
I would say that's fair comment. Yeah, but we have a great community of Asian folks, South Asian folks. My wife included in that. She's South Asian. We know that, yeah. So,
but
we have a good mix.
She is a very well versed with the UAE and all that stuff. She has spent her life more in rather Western world. She just grew up and raised in Morocco. But South Asian background. But lived in Quebec and Ontario and very worldly. Stephen, inform our viewers that as the Halton region is expanding, Burlington has done a great development in the recent years, commercially as well as with the condos and other facilities. The Halton that's why depending on Burlington too, and Burlington South is in high demand. Their prices are touching like downtown rates for the housing and condos.
Burlington, our community to the west, they did initially develop more of the downtown high rises. Now we want to develop our downtown Oakville, but we don't want a lot of big high rises there. It would kind of lose its character as a community. So we are going to be intensifying, and we do need to, because we have so many people coming to the GTA from around Ontario, around Canada, around the world. So we do need to intensify. But where we want to do it is in an area north of Dundas, and also the Midtown area, which is around the Oakville GO station. So over the next 10, 15 years, you're going to see a lot of high-rise development there, mid-rise, and north of Oakville as well.
Because Lakeshore is already having the condos of high-rise and all that, and they're in great demand.
Exactly. So downtown Oakville, there will be some development, but I think the size will be the issue there, not too high.
You want to keep the charm of Oakville, original charm.
Definitely they need to look good in the landscape and preserve the atmosphere of the town as it is right now.
We want to keep it thriving, and we get tourists coming in from all over Ontario to the community, and people within Oakville come down for the restaurants and whatnot. So we want to maintain that small town feeling.
You all have maintained well. The Halton region had what you call the smallest figures even during COVID. You all did very well. A good job was done. As the demographics are also low as compared to Peel. So we give a credit to you all. You all worked very hard. You did look after the people who needed your help. Your food banks are doing very well. And
there's the Fair Share Food Bank and the Kerr Street Mission, which do a great job in the community serving some of the residents in need. There are still residents in need there. As I mentioned, although it is a wealthy community, we can't forget there are people that do live in poverty even in Oakville.
But it's never highlighted that Oakville has got also people who needs help. Otherwise, see, region of Peel, our food banks are overwhelmed. We are really hard, and we are really pushing everyone to donate.
Yeah, and I encourage everybody, all the viewers, if you are able to donate time or money or food or supplies.
Our biggest is the Eden Food Bank in Mississauga.
Let's give back where we can.
Let's give back to the community, because
and I know you are a big proponent of that. And
I have always helped the Eden Food Bank since many years. We have even collected on various occasions and always strived and always attended the shows also, the annual dinner show they have. And we have to. We have to give back to our community.
Absolutely.
That is what the Canadian spirit is.
I totally agree.
I know that the provincial budget consultations are going on right now. Do you foresee, or can you bring some light on what it's going to be?
Hope the budget is not scary.
What are we going to face soon?
I think, I'm not privy to the developing of the budget per se, not being in finance. However, I am on the finance committee. And we are doing consultations actually starting next week. So you are absolutely right.
Consultations are going on.
Absolutely. There's been consultations with the community, and then there's a committee ones as well, which start next week as well. So we will be hearing from Ontarians. We'll be hearing from businesses, from individuals, what they would like to see in the budget. And I can tell you that our government has been very committed to not wanting to burden Ontarians with more fees and taxes.
More taxes, fresh taxes.
We have not raised any taxes since we've been in office. We've reduced a lot of fees. Tax rates were actually going to go up before we took office from the previous government. We canceled that. So although we haven't reduced personal income taxes, we cut a proposed tax increase that was going to happen. So we've helped consumers and we've helped businesses. We touched on Ford of Canada. One of their concerns was taxes here as well, being one of the highest tax jurisdictions. So we've helped small businesses, medium businesses, large-sized businesses with taxes, trying to reduce energy costs as much as we possibly can, make life more affordable. So I think that will be one of the key components to the budget, because life in Ontario has gotten quite unaffordable, whether it's energy and housing costs.
Now it's becoming really a big issue for every family.
Right. A lot of people have started moving out just because of this.
That's a concern.
And inflation is
We
killing
want to
us.
keep people in Ontario. We want people to stay. I want my kids to stay here, grow and prosper, and create wealth, create opportunities for this province. So we have such a great place to live, work, and raise a family.
How Ontarians can contribute with their vision and opinion and maybe suggestions?
Well, for one, they can be part of the consultations. So you could go to the Ministry of Finance website and see how to actually be a participant.
And soon we'll be having every year we have meetings with our MPPs who are connected to the consultations. They have a small gatherings, but I don't know this year, maybe on Zoom it will be due to the current COVID situation. And we ask lots of questions every year. I'm a person who is very interested in the budget, how it is going to help the Ontarians, how it is going to help the common families in Ontario. Because in Ontario also, and in our Mississauga and region of Peel, we have got quite a number of poverty-stricken people who cannot afford even housing or even three meals.
The conservative philosophy is not to rob Peter to pay Paul. It's to have Peter and Paul and everybody. Let's create a bigger pie. Let's create an opportunity for people who want to do well, who want to succeed in business, to do well, but also to help those in need, but give them opportunities. That's the conservative philosophy. It's building a bigger pie and a better place to live. We want everybody here, anybody who wants to get out and work, and raise a family, live in Ontario. We want them to stay here.
Definitely.
Right? That's critical. So we want to create that environment.
MPP Stephen, will you inform our viewers about Bill 21 of Quebec, which has become a big controversy, and it is violating the rights of few communities, not only Muslims, but even the Jews and the Sikhs.
Well, even actually to add to that, even Christians, because they're not able to wear the cross.
Wear the cross and all that stuff.
So Bill 21 in Quebec is not a bill that I support.
It's a law.
It's
a law since 2019 it was passed.
And for those viewers that don't know, any person who wears a hijab, or maybe a Jewish person with a kippah,
or a cap, or anything,
or even if you want to wear a cross on your lapel,
or carry a sword,
you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to.
But
if you work in a public
government offices, But I did have a lot of talk and discussions on this issue with the legislatures from Quebec. And they openly, they just smile and they say that Quebec, we are not against any of you all or any particular communities or Canadians. We are a secular province of Canada. So what do they mean by the secular province by hurting the feelings and the beliefs of the people?
I don't know what they mean. I mean, Ontario is a secular province. Canada is a secular country, but we give people the right to choose to believe what they want.
And practice also what they believe in.
So I don't support that bill and that law. Personally, I don't think it's right.
Even the federal government and our provincial government has given a statement, but as we are all independent, autonomous, so we cannot ask you back to just repel the bill.
No,
repel the law.
We can have our opinion. I certainly have mine, but ultimately it's up to Quebec. Now, whether the federal government could do something on this, I think they could. That's my view, but I don't think they have done anything to date.
So before we close our today's interview, because we have got a paucity of time and my control room is already showing me signs, so we may invite you again soon after the elections when you again win. So would you like to give some comments to our viewers, what the Canadians should do under current crisis, how they should face the current challenges, and how to stay united in Ontario?
Yeah. Well, that's very good. And you raise a good point about staying united. I think that is key. And there's a lot of different views out there on the pandemic and how we should deal with it. I mean, if you interview 1,000 people, you'll get 1,000 different answers as to how to deal with things,
Definitely.
But we have to unite as Ontarians and Canadians and be nonpartisan and understand we're in a crisis. And we have to deal with it. And we've got to act united. I encourage everybody to get vaccinated. I don't think there should be negativity or bad feelings towards people that don't. I personally think you should get vaccinated, and the stats prove that you should, medically speaking.
It helps us and
it
maintain the safety.
But let's not denigrate and fight and point fingers. Let's unite. Try to encourage people to do the right thing as much as possible. Let's work together, get through this crisis, volunteer, support where you can, stay united, and less bickering. I think we will get through this.
And we are Canadians. We are compassionate people.
Absolutely.
We are not here to choose the colors here in Canada. We believe in Canada and its federation.
Well, you had a great point first, right? Which Canada first, conservative second.
Conservative second.
That's certainly
what I adopt in my life as a nationalist.
Yeah.
I proudly say I'm a nationalist and I live for Canada.
Yeah. That's why I respect you so much.
Thank you so much, Stephen Crawford, for coming in our show. We'll be again inviting you a continuation of part 2. There were so many questions we were unable to ask due to paucity of time. We are grateful to you. Stay well, work hard, and get yourself re-elected so you can complete all the development projects and serve Ontario.
There is much more work to be done. COVID has sidelined a lot of it, but we need to get back in June 2nd so we can carry forward with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Viewers of Voice of Canada, will be signing off soon from this week's episode with my charming co-host Ekaterina K. And our honorable guest for this evening is Stephen Crawford, our Halton Region prestigious MPP and a hardworking MPP. Wish you all the best. Goodbye, good night, adios, God bless Canada. Thank you.
Thank you.